Hey guys, what's going on? Welcome back to the channel. I know it's been a while since my last video. I've actually had a fair bit going on for me personally, which has made it a little bit difficult to find the time to sort of, make videos and put PCs together and all that stuff. But regardless of that, I'm really excited to talk to you guys about this PC that I've put together for around about $1,000. And as the title suggests, we'll play Starfield. So if you are on a budget and that's a game that you want to play, then this video hopefully is for you. But it will also play games like Call of Duty Warzone, Fortnite, Apex Legends, comfortably at 1080p, 1440p, and even 4K if you're willing to sort of sacrifice a bit of quality. So today we're going to go through the PC build. I'll show you guys all the parts that I've used and explain why I've actually chosen them. Links to everything is down in the video description as well, and all the prices, by the way, are in Australian dollars because I'm here based in Sydney. So if you found this video helpful, then don't forget to chuck it a like, get subscribed, and let's begin. Okay, so now let me walk you through the parts that we're using for this PC build, and I'll also explain as we go sort of why I've chosen those parts as well. So starting with the CPU, it's a Ryzen 5 5600, so that's 6 cores, 12 threads, has a cooler in the box, although we are using something aftermarket. In Australia right now, you can pick this up for about $199. I got mine from Tech, and overall, it's just a really good chip for productivity, gaming, just a really good all-rounder. And then the graphic card that we've paired it with is also an AMD graphic card, and the reason why we've done that is so we can leverage on the smart access memory technology, or resizable bar, as some of you might know it. So this is an RX 6600 8GB graphic card, which we picked up for about $319. And what was cool about when we bought this graphic card is we actually got the game, the Starfield game, for free via the AMD redemption portal. So there was actually a bit of a deal going on. If you bought any of the AMD RX 6000 series graphic cards, you got the Starfield game for free in the month of September. So it's a bit unfortunate that I'm a little bit late, but either way, really good CPU paired with a really solid GPU. Then the motherboard, we've gone with an MSI B550M PRO-VDH Wi-Fi. Really good motherboard. I've used this board a whole bunch of times. It's got onboard Wi-Fi, onboard Bluetooth. You've got 4 RAM slots. So we're using 2 sticks of RAM right now, which gives us room to upgrade and add some more RAM in later if we want to do that. You've got 2 M.2 slots. The one at the top is a Gen 4 slot as well. PCIe Gen 4 for the graphic card, and just a really solid micro ATX motherboard. Now, with the actual case, this case from Deepcool is the Deepcool CC360 in black, and this case comes in at about $89 and comes with 3 A-RGB fans pre-installed. So it's a really good value case. My friends at Deepcool actually sent this case over to me as part of this video, so I didn't have to pay for it. But if you wanted to get it yourself, $89, I can I can actually say with conviction that this case is actually a really good buy for 89 bucks. Then the fans that we've added in that they've actually sent over as well, which are another $55 with the CF120 pluses. So we've actually put 2 in the top and 1 in the rear, and they actually look really nice. And having a lot of fans, some of you might think it's not necessary. I personally like it just from an aesthetics point of view, and so if you wanted to save a bit of money, you could totally leave those out if you wanted to do that. The power supply, again from Deepcool, is a 750 watt unit, which costs about $119, has black flat cables, but what we've actually done is we've extended them with these sort of extensions that we got from eBay from a shop called PC Raw. These extensions, I think, just make it look a little bit more futuristic, a little bit more, sci-fi, a bit more space. I don't know. It gives me kind of like that vibe of that Thron movie. Not Thron. What's it called with Chris Hemsworth? Jesus, I'm trying to... Thor. Sorry, I don't know why I said Thron. Thor, where he has that road to go between different places in the galaxy. I don't know, it just gives me that vibe of like something a little bit more futuristic-y. But you can leave them out and do something different, get plain white ones if you want to do that, or orange and black. I'll leave links to everything down in the video description. And then the actual cooler, this is the Deepcool AG400, which comes with an A-RGB fan on the front. So that's an addressable A-RGB fan, so you can set the colors and synchronize it all together like I've done here. And this cooler is about $45. Then the actual RAM that we've used, and I actually bought that from Amazon. This is Viper. I think I've got it here on the little list here. So Viper Patriot memory. We've got 16 gigabytes at 3600 megahertz. Again, RGB, so we can synchronize all the colors. Works absolutely no problems. You can set the XMP profile up in your motherboard's BIOS. Works flawlessly, haven't had any issues with it at all. And then the SSD, we've got a 1 terabyte SSD. So this is from Timetec. So it's a Gen 4 drive. It is stupid fast. It costs about $101. You can get a terabyte SSD for a little bit less than that, but the performance that you're getting from this drive with the heatsink attached on it as well for about $100 is a solid SSD. And I'll be getting into the benchmarks a little bit later in this video. So if you were to sort of add everything up here, you're looking at about $1,211 Australian. But if you were to strip it back, get rid of some of the aesthetics, you know, remove the cables, remove the fans, choose a different power supply, maybe a smaller SSD, you know, you could actually make this PC easily for under $1,000 or around $1,000. But I wanted to make it a little bit more special and sort of dress it up a little bit. So I think what we've got here is a really solid PC that you can easily upgrade the graphic card, easily add in something a bit more powerful with that power supply that we've got. So 650 watts to 750 watts is sort of my recommendation. The motherboard, again, adding in more RAM or more storage in the M.2 slots or the actual DIMM slots is really easy in this case. Even though it's micro ATX, still really easy to work inside of, and plenty of room for a, you know, a 360mm rad on the front or on the 240mm rad on the top. And just overall, a really solid case for only $89. So now let's get into some of the benchmarks, starting with Starfield. We tested that game with the low, medium, and high preset with FSR2 turned on, motion blur turned off, but 100% render resolution. So at 1080p, this machine absolutely killed it. 64 frames a second at low settings, medium settings 50 frames a second, at high about 35 frames a second. So definitely maybe not playable, especially if you're in an intense gunfight or something like that. But even 1440p, we were getting about 45 frames low, 40 frames a second in the medium, but only about 29 frames at high. So if you've got a monitor with like AMD FreeSync or NVIDIA G-Sync to sort of handle some of those frame dips and when the frame rate might be a little bit less than sort of desired, I actually think that 1080p, 1440p with a mix of low to medium settings, this machine's going to be able to handle that absolutely no problem. But 4K, we were only able to get 30 frames a second at low, 23 frames a second at medium, and 22 frames a second at high. So definitely, you know, really struggling. But remember, when you're going out into space as well, you're able to get a much higher frame rate. Or if you're in an area which has a lot less population, like depending on the environment that you're in, your frame rate is going to change a lot. But that was the results that we got. Now, jumping into some other games, we didn't go through all the different presets there. We just tested all of these games at medium or sort of a balanced preset. We had anti-aliasing 2 times on. We had the FX CAS filter on as well. And with Call of Duty Warzone, 1080p, 133 frames a second, 1440p, 91 frames a second, even 4K, only about 44 frames a second, but 1080p, 1440p Warzone, medium balance preset, no problems at all. Fortnite, we were just doing some solo games, medium preset with TSA on, DirectX 12. Again, 1080p, 183 frames a second, absolutely crushed it. 1440p, 124 frames a second, and 4K, 59 frames a second. So you can play Fortnite on a balanced preset at 4K on a machine that costs around about $1,000, which is pretty nuts. Then moving on to Apex Legends, again, medium to high mix. There's no sort of presets we can use there with anisotropic filtering 2 times. We were getting at 1080p, 182 frames, 1440p, 112 frames, and 4K 64 frames. So if you're wanting to play some competitive, you know, FPS, or you wanted to do Valorant, Apex, Fortnite, Warzone, CSGO 2, the new version's out now as well, this machine's going to handle it absolutely no problem. And everything from my experience when I was gaming was buttery smooth with those 3 games. A really good experience. Now for the SSD, this was actually also sent over as part of this build from Timetec, so massive shout out to those guys. I've reviewed their RAM in the past and it's been really good, so I wanted to see what their SSDs were like. And this Gen 4 drive in crystal disk mark on the reads got 7.4 gigabytes a second on the read, and on the write 6.6 gigabytes a second. So it's a Gen 4 drive, it's hitting the speeds that it's advertised to hit. And when I was using this drive to sort of open up games, jump around during levels with like Starfield Starfield, like going into different areas and stuff like that, like this drive was able to keep up no problems at all, and it booted up the machine really, really quick. And with that little heatsink on there as well, the drive stays really cool. So absolutely no hesitation from me anyway, getting this drive. So highly recommend checking it out if you want to get yourself a decent 1TB drive on a budget as well, only about $101 from Amazon. Now with temperatures, with this CPU cooler, with this configuration, we ran Firmark, which is a graphic card stress test, in combination at the same time with Prime 95 small FFT torture test for 15 minutes with the fans at 1300 RPM. I could barely hear them, and the actual idle temperature on the CPU was 36 degrees Celsius. GPU idle was about 38, but then the load temps on the CPU max out at only 67.9. That's with the window on as well, and then the max temp on the GPU was 77, and you know, that's in a torture test situation. When I was actually just gaming for like a few hours on this machine, I never saw the GPU go above like 68, 69, and same goes for the CPU as well. So the cooler, the configuration with this case, plenty of airflow coming through, performs really, really well. So guys, in summary, I think this PC has actually delivered what I was hoping it would, which is acceptable frame rates in games like Starfield at 1080p and 1440p. Depending on the settings that you use, you can definitely get a really good experience from a machine that doesn't cost too much money. But that being said, it did perform really well with Apex Legends, Call of Duty Warzone, Fortnite. So overall, it's just a really good all-rounder budget gaming PC. So with this CPU, the Ryzen 5 5600, the RX 6600, 16 gigs of RAM, 1TB SSD, you've just got a really good foundation. But if you wanted to make yourself something like this, all the parts are down in the video description. And adding to that, I would say, given that there's a new season of Call of Duty coming out, and there's also a bunch of new games coming out, I'm sure before Christmas, maybe look around to see if you can get a graphic card that you can buy that maybe will give you some redemption towards the game that you may be wanting to play. Like I'm sure Call of Duty will have some sort of partner with a graphic card manufacturer or a CPU manufacturer at some point, because that is also an extra value. Like we got the graphic card and got the Starfield game in this situation for free, which is just, I think, an absolute steal. So guys, thank you so much for watching. If you have any questions, let me know down in the comment section. Links to everything is down there as well. If you have any questions about anything that I've talked about, hit me up, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Cheers.